And we're back with me, Johnny McMurray, on the On the Spot Football Podcast with another fantastic guest, a Welshman with a pedigree for goal, from Wales to England, England to Ireland, Ireland to Northern Ireland, and now he's back on the spot. It's Matthew Tipton. Matthew, how's things?
Very good, thank you for having me.
Did you see that? I rehearsed that.
You did rehearse that.
I was in the mirror. I was in the mirror like that, eyebrows slicked out, ready to go.
You might get a job, best man at a wedding and stuff, because they're hard, you have
like
to
a hope.
this stuff. Huh?
Joel Taggart's done. I'm going to start.
You think I'm Phil?
Hopefully. Joel's got a better voice than me, I think, but...
Jackie Fulham.
New jacket. You're like the new jacket.
No chance.
We're going to touch on that. It's quite funny. But...
You're going to say to me, why was I hammering you when you came on last year? You're still bitter about that.
Wee bit.
I knew you were.
But mate, thank you very much for coming on. Pleasure. I've been torturing you for the last couple of weeks, to be honest, getting you on though. You're on holiday and stuff, so I really appreciate it.
Wasn't on holiday, I was working in Spain.
Again, no, you're on holiday. You're bronze. But listen, thank you. We're going to get straight into things.
Oh,
okay.
Here we go.
Bangor, North Wales.
Yeah, Bangor, North Wales, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
before you go here, don't tell me you live in Bangor, Northern Ireland too, do you?
No, but it was funny enough, I live in Cumber,
right.
and but I remember driving towards Cumber and seeing the A5 to Bangor, and the A5 in Bangor in North Wales as well. So
right.
Slight coincidence, but yeah.
Home away from home.
Home away from home, yeah. Well, I've been here now nearly as long as I've lived anywhere.
Right.
So obviously I was born and raised in Bangor, left home at 16 to go and sign for Oldham, then moved here when I was just over 30. So right. 16 years at home, 14 years and a bit in England, in Oldham, and I've been here now 15 years.
What was it like growing up in Wales? Small town?
Well, it's a city, yeah, but it'd be small enough even as a city, 15,000 people, university city, cathedral city, so, it is an official city. Right. Brilliant, yeah, we lived on a big, massive council estate. It's like the second biggest in the whole of Wales, so just a young kid, you like what you do, don't you? And I just wanted to play football all the time, that's all. I remember, and you speak to people and go back, and I was known as the kid with the ball, all the way through, and obviously Dad working or whatever, and taking me to football whenever he could. And then probably I was 7, I got into school football too.
Okay.
So I was junior 1. That is in the old money. Playing with junior fours, scored in first goal, and there was a team on our estate, Macclesfield, which is, the Welsh. So our estate's called Macclesfield, and then there's another estate.
Say that again?
Macclesfield. And I can still speak loads of Welsh stuff, right? I couldn't tell you what it means right enough, but so the football team is called Macclesfield because the big hill that led to the estate was Pembryn Hill, town of Bryn Hill. So I was torturing the manager, but it was only under 12s then. Football wasn't like it is now. Kids going is under 5s and all this.
You mean with 10 teams at each section and red, blue, green, netball? So
it was like in our whole city, like say 20,000 people living there, was one football team. Right. At that age group type thing. So, but under 12s, under 14s, 12s, 14s, and 16s. So there wasn't like a team for every age group.
Yeah.
When I was torturing, could I go and play? But obviously at 7, I couldn't play in the
under 12s.
Well, I wanted to, right enough, and I'd go and train with the under 14s. I'd go train all the time. And John Owen, he became a Man City scout, and then ended up at Man United for years. So I'd be like, John gives a game, and he's like, you can't come to train. And I was like running about with like 14-year-olds, like, and I thought
that would make me though, because I always remember seeing my brothers, 5, 6, 7 years older than me, and it was always like you go play football with his mates, and you develop so much quicker at that age playing with people who are just rough and tumble. Do you know what I mean?
Well, we used to. So at the back of our house, it was a hill, and I'm not sure it was like proper steep, right? And why we decided to play football on the hill, up and down, right? And then like see running up and down. That's why my calves like that. Because I was always on the team going up the hill, because I was the younger kids. But I just loved playing, and I just loved scoring. See, like, and you obviously playing the playground and stuff, but we'd go at night and be mad organised games, 40 aside, whatever. And even then, I could just like score. It didn't matter what age it was, and kind of just went like that, But 9, then I went. John was taking some boys up to Liverpool before he went to Man City. He was like, wasn't an official scout, but he, there was loads of good kids playing in our team and stuff, and he took them up, and I just went like, I don't even know if I was invited. I think I just got in the club used to have a minibus. I used to get in the minibus, like, minibus is going to. He lived like opposite Manana, so I'd like just get in all the time. And we went up to Liverpool. I was about 8 then, and these boys were going on trial. And like Neil Hughes, Jonathan Paddy, these are like my heroes. It was proper weird, even though they were under 16s. Do you know what I mean? I was like, these are the like best players, you'd ever see and stuff, because you don't really know much, do you, when you're a kid? And like, obviously I watched Liverpool and whatever, but I knew these boys. And they went up anyway in their own town, and I was just like kicking the ball about, as you do. And Steve Hyde was there, and he came over and said to John, "Geez, what about the young lad?" And he said, "I get him up next year on the 10s we start." And I went the next summer, like for trials for 6 weeks or whatever. So every Monday, and Dad took me. And then after the first week, they just said, "Yeah, you don't need to come back. Like he's done enough. He's in to come back in September," and that was it. Went up and down to Liverpool for about the next 4 years then. And a few decent players in that squad. Like.
Yeah.
Steven Gerrard was the best, obviously. I think that's it.
There
you go. Drop that in there, and then that's just the end. I don't need to really go any further. Yeah. So he was like that good then, you know what I mean? He was unbelievable. And a lot of players went on and had good careers. Jason Kumas, Michael Ball.
Yeah.
They were some top players, and did that a few years. Then Oldham opened a centre in Wales, and Liverpool signed Michael Owen, so I was kind of like looking an exit path there, you know what I mean? Yeah. I was no dozer even at 12 and 13, like, oh, geez.
One had serious pace.
Yeah, he was, and he was sharp, and obviously we were both from North Wales, but he was kind of flying, and the way football was back then, you went everywhere, you know what I mean? I was going to different clubs on trial, and people like getting in touch. Then, Oldham opened a centre in Wales, so I kind of was training with them, still going up to Liverpool the odd time, but he was going less and less, do you know what I mean? And
yeah.
Ended up, we had the letter through the post, thanks for your time and we'll keep monitoring you, but, we're going to go release you or whatever. I was like 13. Then I signed for Oldham, did a year then of just trialling everywhere. Man City, Sheffield Wednesday, Arsenal, went like Blackburn, you know what I mean? All these clubs were kind of after us, but I decided to stay with Oldham anyway. Yeah, and at 14, kind of threw me a lot in, signed a 4-year deal, yeah.
See, whenever you're talking about the amount of trials and stuff you had as a kid, from you kind of saying that, you were just buzzing to be on trial. You didn't care about, I wanted to be at this club, stay there. You were like, I'll jump.
It wasn't a case of that. It was just, look, these have invited up. So I went to Man City, right? They were like, oh, come up, right? Torturing us, and obviously John was in. I went and I scored 5 in the game. And then they were like, yeah, we maybe need to have another look. So, they said for Dad, I went, like, no,
they need to have
what, you know what I mean? You mad or what, right? Yeah. So I kind of, I didn't turn them down or anything, but I was just like that now. And then went up to Sheffield Wednesday. I think it was like 13. I played in the under-16s and scored like 6. Like I could just score.
Yeah.
But then they were like, yeah, we don't really do much else. And I was like,
you'd be crying out for that nowadays, wouldn't you? If you ask somebody, like, somebody's going to score goals, but
I kind of get that. I don't do anything else. Like I didn't run or anything. Like so, like as a kid, right, I was like that. And at the end of my career, which you'll see, and probably the viewers here will have seen, right, that I kind of just hung around the goal quite a bit. But the in between bit from like 18 to 30, like I did run around, and
I don't know. Ellie, come on.
Like, that's
not lying to the viewership.
Well, I thought you said you wanted to boost them, right? So. Like I did, I had to, but to kind of make a career in the game, which is what I wanted to do. I didn't want to run. I wanted to just be that goal scorer, what I'd always been. And I suppose I'll touch on it a little bit further as we get to that period of my career, because I felt I had all of that success as a young kid, and I was like a child prodigy, if you like. Like from the age of 9 to 16, I never scored less than 100 in a season.
Yeah.
So first year was 9, scored 135, 148, 178, 160. And then I went playing for Oldham.
How'd you not go to Barcelona or something like that?
And
it is like, too. If you had Instagram or something nowadays, like and the publicity you would have had,
like I was scoring at 11.
You wouldn't even need to be running.
Nah.
Do you know what I mean?
And it got to a stage, right, and it wasn't like, well, it probably was cockiness or arrogance, right, whichever way you want to look at it, but it wasn't. This was just me thinking, when I'd hit 100 goals, I'd like do mad targets then for the next game, so I'd just say, I'm just only playing left-footed now. And I did it once, I scored on 11, only with my left. Obviously I was right-footed. And it was just, and I think, so if we jump forward now, like 10 years, right, so 14 there, like the world at my feet, if you like. And then when I got to 24, I'd like got disillusioned because I was like, why am I shouldn't be playing at this level. Like I'm miles better than this. And like people might think that's like cockiness or what. But I'd left Oldham, broke through as a young kid, played a load of games, got sold obviously to Macclesfield, and then scored 51 in 3 years, right? At a team that was predominantly at the bottom of the league.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I took a step back to come here, to score a load of goals, to get a move, to the championship or wherever. I didn't. And then I was like, my head went.
Yeah.
Because I was like,
why is this not happening for me?
Yeah. I'm miles better than like this, but I wasn't miles better, right? But, you know, in my head, I was thinking, like, 10 years ago, everybody wanted to sign me, right?
Yeah.
Then I went to Oldham, and they were a Premier League club, so fair enough, and I broke in quickly. Didn't, like, score as much as what I was expecting. No, first team level. Like, in the youth team. I was 16 playing in reserves and stuff straight away, but obviously made my debut at 17 at the first team, right? But it took me, like, ages to score.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand, like, how come I can't score? And then Hyde went, you know, but I didn't understand in that. And, like, pressure obviously comes, right? But I wanted pressure. I was knocking on the manager's door when I was 16, asking why I wasn't in the first team. Neil Warnock was the manager, right? And I was like, why am I not on the team? Like, I'm scoring like 2 every week in the reserves, you know, as a kid. And it wasn't like reserve football now. I know Gary was on, he was talking about it and stuff. And, like, it was a proper reserve league there. See, on the Wednesday, like, we played Leeds, and their back four was Gary Kelly right back, Robert Molnar, Lucas Radaby, and Ian Hart. Like, that was their back four. I was playing against them. I was
Premiership back four. Yeah.
They, like, because they were, like, struggling in the league, they put their first team, like, defenders to play. I'm like, you know,
what a learning curve that is. Like, you're never getting that anymore.
That's what I mean, too.
Never.
But I don't agree with it.
Yeah. No,
but
I
the
agree.
problem is the world's moved on, so we can all say what we did 30 years ago was better than now, or what we do now is better than 30 years ago. You never know, because, look, that's life and it goes on. So, yeah, everything was flying for me as a kid. I went to Oldham, obviously, and my pathway was still going like this. So at 14, I signed a 4-year deal. 15, and my birthday's 29th of June, so you know a football contract is 1st of July.
Yeah.
They always kick in, So in the March time, so I was 15, and I was ready to go to Oldham at 16 to start my YTS. I was like, clubs were still torturing me, even though we'd kind of agreed this deal. You know, I was already taking my 2 years YTS, and we had a game. And we played Rochdale, right? So it's a bit of local derby anyway. It's got 5 at half time. I got brought off, and I was fuming. Like, I couldn't understand why they wanted to, like, bring me off. I wanted to play, right, and score 20. Yeah, like, or 10, do you know what I mean? As many as I could. And they were like, I know, but their managers saying it's not fair because he wants to look at their kids, right? And I was like, you know, to see if they're going to be good enough to get a pro or whatever, right? And I was like, well, obviously they're not.
Yeah.
Like, I was just getting it, you know what I mean?
Very simple here. Like, if they conceded 5 in first half, they probably ain't.
Yeah, so get rid, you know, like, and that's the wrong way to look at it, and, you know,
but as a personal perspective point, you're ready.
See,
it's all about me. You know what I mean? But it is as a kid. I think every kid should be like that. If you're not
I want to score more.
Motivated to score more goals, what's the point in you playing the game?
So I was like, anyway, so I was like fuming. I was like that to my dad, I'm leaving, right? Come on. And he was like, no. So he said, they want to have a chat with you. They brought you off. So they pulled us and they said, look, you know that you've got 2 years, like, as a YTS, we want to scrap that and give you, like, another 4-year deal.
Right, okay.
So it was 2 years YTS, 2 years pro. Fine. So jump ahead another year. I was done my first year YTS. It was March time again. This is kind of when contracts get sorted. Pulled in again. Only we want to scrap your YTS. You don't have to do your second year. We want to put you on a pro for another 4-year deal. So from 14, right, signed a 4-year deal. 15, 4-year deal. 16, but it like turning 17, 4-year deal. And then I did another 3. So by the time I was 20, I'd signed like 6 new contracts.
What was your agent like? Was your dad your agent?
No, I didn't. I had one, but he didn't get involved in any of my contract negotiations. Like, then, because he came on board, like, when I was 20, once I started getting an agent, my contract started going like that.
They go in money.
Yeah, they went on. I was just like, I went in with Neil Warnock, and they offered me a deal, and I turned it down at 60. And he was like, well, that's what all of the first-year pros are on. So I said, it's all right. I'm not signing that. I said, I have to live away from home, and I have to pay, like, gigs and stuff, and they're all living at home. I need more than that. Me and Muscali signed at the same time, and he went in and just signed it, happy, and came out, and then he said to me, have you not signed it? I went, no. I said, I'm not signing for that money.
Were you advised, though, at this stage? Because at 16, the kid's usually not that way inclined to be like, I'm not doing this, especially at the level that you're talking about. If you're in the Irish League and somebody goes to you, here, you're going to do that, you're getting 50 quid a week. You're obviously not on that at that stage, and your manager's Neil Warnock. It's not...
He loved it. Well, he was like, who's told you that? And I said, I just know. I said, my dad kind of knew people in football as well.
Yeah.
And I knew... There was, like, they weren't giving me a deal, right? Just because out of the goodness of the heart, right? Let's be honest. Football's ruthless business, right? And clubs give people new deals because somebody else wants them.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not stupid. I already knew that, like, they'd already turned 2 bids down for me. So, yeah, I just said, I'll just wait it out and then I'll be a free agent this time next year.
So smart being that way inclined. I think, if you're a kid and you know exactly what you're doing and you're advised the right way at that stage, obviously it can go pear-shaped. It can go completely wrong. People are like, do you know what? Tell that kid to go. Like, do you know what I mean? But if you have a talent, people aren't going to go to you.
Like, I got what I wanted. Well, I didn't, like, I wasn't, like, I was asking for an extra £100 a week. It wasn't, like, 1,000, you know what I mean? And a couple of, so, but, the next pre-season, like, so obviously that was the end of the season, and I was straight in with the first team then.
What was it like being managed by Neil Warnock?
Yeah, it was good. Well, weird, yeah. Like, I was still a kid. I was still a youth team player, but then I would get called up to train and do different things. And I went away on the pre-season tour, but that off, didn't I? We were allowed to swear. I was sworn. Yeah, too late. You can bleep it out anyway. We went and we were allowed that out, and like I was with the players, and they were like, "Oh, geez, we've got to get back to the hotel." And instead of just walking like that way around the thing, I just jumped off the wall and wrecked my ankle.
No way.
Right. And then the lads like, can't tell the gaffer that. Like, so next day I had to go to training. Roll my ankle, you know, as a like you always say, no. So that kind of set me back a few months, which is a bit disappointing because obviously I was busting to get in the team and that. I made my debut then, like that, yeah. But I was in and out, yeah. And he was managing. He left. He was just mad. Like we'd play on a Saturday, and he'd just say, "Right, do what you want. I'll see you Thursday." You know, this on a Saturday, whatever. And I'd be like, "Well,
what do you mean?
Like, are we in training or are we not training or what? Or like, I'm still like in the youth team training. Do I go in the youth team on Monday or what do I do here?" And the other lads would like, and they'd say, "Come in if you want." Like the Resis were training like that. Like, it was just like mad, but like I didn't know if it was I didn't know why I used to go in training obviously all the time, right? Yeah. Like I was a kid, I didn't. What else was I going to do? Like,
they won the Saturday. He's going, we're sweet, we won.
So he would be off. What he meant was, I'll not be until Thursday, and not like just have 4 days off. He'd be like, Ron will take training. Ron Reid was his assistant and that, yeah. So, like I say, I only played like 4 or 5 times for him. Yeah. You know, and then like if I wasn't playing, I wouldn't be there. You know, I'd be back training with the team on the reserves anyway. Mm-hmm. He left at the end of that season. And Andy Ritchie took over. And like I was saying about pressure and expectation and that, then squad numbers came in. So we're talking about 1998, 99, and then I got given the number 9, like squad number, right? I was 18.
Yeah.
You know, there was first, like, men there. You know, big, experienced players ahead of me. And I was like...
Yeah, confidence still.
Of course.
Like,
but
take it, I'll do it.
I wasn't really ready for it, even though I thought I was ready, do you know what I mean? And I wasn't... well, obviously I wasn't as fat as I am now, but I wasn't even as big. I wasn't one of them big kids at 16, you know, and I was good because I was bigger than everybody. Yeah. I was still very slight and small. It was like maybe 19, 20 before I really filled out. Like.
Yeah.
But I probably took too much on too young, thinking I could do it. And I maybe internally had that pressure on me and I couldn't cope with it. Like.
See the shock of going into that first team situation where you're now the number 9. This focuses on you. You're a young kid and then you don't deliver.
Yeah.
What does that feel like?
Horrible. And like knew it as well. You know what I mean? Like I got booed in that coming on. 8,000 fans in the crowd. Like I was a kid. And then you think back and you go, why would you do that to me?
Yeah.
And I couldn't cope with it, you know. And it wasn't like I would never say I've had a drink problem or anything like that. But you know, you'd go for a few pints and be like, not bothered anyway. But really, you definitely are bothered. Do you know what I mean? Like horrible, like feel like crying or whatever. And well, hopefully not need them, but
I'm sick of them.
Yeah,
no, but at least they're there today. Do you know what I mean?
When you go back, you know, and I look now and I think of what I used to think then. I used to do stuff, right? Like not like self-destruction, but you know what? So say now, right? I'd maybe take a Chinese on a Thursday night, knowing that I shouldn't, right? But then thinking, if I have a bad game on a Saturday, like I wouldn't tell anybody I'd done it, but then in my mind I'd go, that was because I had the Chinese and blame something else, not me just being rubbish.
Yeah.
John, I probably did that quite a lot in my career. You know that, so I already had a ready-built excuse, but I would never tell anybody that excuse. It wasn't like...
It kind of just justifies it to you.
Yeah, but I would never say to my wife or to any of my mates or any of the other players, geez, I had a nightmare today. We probably shouldn't have had that Chinese on Thursday. Like, I would never openly admit that. Probably today's the first I've ever, you know, because I've been thinking about it over the couple of weeks and you're saying stuff and I was thinking, do you know what? There is stuff there that probably is better to get out for other people to understand. Yeah. Not understand me, understand themselves, because everybody...
Most things are very generic in football. Like, everybody experiences something along the same lines.
Do you know, and then I'd maybe think, right, we've game on Tuesday. Like, if I just have a couple of pints this afternoon, right, I'll be all right. Yeah. But then if I have a bad game, I'll go, that was because... Like, if I hadn't had them, I'd have been brilliant. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But the problem was, I was always dead good on the Tuesday night, and then I'd go and have like not like loads, like I wasn't like nightclub or anything. You know what I mean? Go and watch football, have a food, 4 pints or whatever, 12, and then go and score 2 on a Tuesday, and then I'd be like, oh geez, I need
North 4.
like, you know what I mean? Maybe I should do that all the time, type of thing. And you know it's like it's a vicious circle, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, I don't know. Most footballers are superstitious, aren't they? Like, and I 100% think there's a touch of OCD in
everyone.
It is, isn't it? Everybody has a touch of it, right? I'm so bad for it. And I'd be like, so I've been with Becky since I was 16, right? We would live together for the majority of the time as well. So say when there's like I could start cooking while 21, say, right? We have
cooking at 21.
Well, maybe a bit younger, but you know, like cooking like what I wanted, you know, on a Friday night and that, right?
Yeah. Chicken and rice.
Pasta bake, right? So it was all like veg and whatever in it. And then we'd have it. I scored, obviously. So then that was me then. You know, I was playing every Saturday. So every Friday then until I retired, right? So it was like 15 years, the same Friday meal, right? So I retired, obviously, at Ballymena. And I retired, it was over, like Easter kind of weekend. My knee was killing me. And David just took over. I'd been like caretaker for a couple of weeks and done some coaching, but then I wasn't going to carry on playing anyway at the end of the season. And I just said, David, you're going to want me to run around and train and stuff, right? I can't. But you're coming in to set standards at this football club. It don't look great. And I've just been taking training for the last 2 weeks saying, boys, this is the intensity, the tempo that's going to be needed. David's going to come in, and this is the kind of levels we need to get to. And I said, I can't give you them levels. So, like, if you want me, I'll just stay and sit on the bench, but I can't train. And I'll come on and I'll probably will score. We were playing, in the bottom 6, and we were struggling. Yeah. I said, like, I've still got a goal in me because I still scored loads. But I said, but I can't run. I won't.
At least you were up.
And I said, we can shake hands and I'll retire. And go. So I went home, said to the wife, that's me done, whatever, Chinese, And then George said, where's the pasta bake? Because he was now coming through, like, a young...
You've set those standards and he's going,
this is what we have on a Friday.
Yeah.
So we're still having it now because now the other young lad playing, and obviously George is playing, and James isn't, making his right, playing at Cumbria.
Well, like
we're still having it, and she's looking at me going... We're still having this.
I'm ready for a Chinese here. We're done.
30 years down the line and we're still eating.
God love her.
So, yeah, we're still on it, but it's an enjoyable meal in our house on a Friday. We all kind of sit together,
That's a good bonding experience.
I try and have us sitting down every night for dinner.
Yeah.
Whatever we're having, but yeah, Friday's Friday meal still going on, after all the... But that was one of the OCD things.
It still lives on.
The food, but the other things were... Like I say, the odd time you do things and you self-destruct. But look, I went on and played, I played 100 odd games for them. I scored a few goals. My first ever goal was goal of the month on Sky.
Right.
So that probably didn't help the expectation levels.
Even when you stanch one from...
well, it was inside the box, obviously. It was a volley. Cross came a little bit behind me. I flicked it up and hooked it in the top corner. Last minute winner as well against Wrexham, which local team to me. Ian Ross was playing for Wrexham, who was my hero, obviously, as Liverpool fan. Growing up, but went on from there. And look, I did okay. Broke into the Wales under-21s at like 17. Played a few games for them and stuff. But yeah, it just towards the end then, Oldham, Andy Richard got the sack, a new board came in and stuff, a bit more money. They were signing, like when Andy had been trying to promote the youth. Yeah. And they were, started bringing in new players. And Mick Wadsworth came in as manager with Ian Dowie as assistant.
Okay.
And it was okay, but I was kind of in and off the bench and different things. And he was trying to change me as a player. And like, I was still only 21, right? But I'd played 100 odd like league games. And I was seeing my career going that way. And he was, I know you still need to learn. And he was right. Because I was 21, I still need to learn, right? But I was kind of going, I was one of the more experienced boys, in the squad because I'd played a lot over the 3 years, 4 years. So, and he was just, he was about it. Like, Mick was good. He was a brilliant coach. He'd been Bobby Robson's assistant for years, and Ian Dowie was a super coach as well, right? But I remember he came in, and he said to me, yeah, have a word with you. I said, yeah, and he was giving it all this. He said, boys, tell me a bit of a drink and that. I was like, well, not really. Like, I'd go out, I was 21, you know what I mean? 20, 21. And he's like, no, look, see this here. Drinkers' jowls, right? We need all this. Carry on. I was like, geez. Anyway, so he said, no drink. Wrap it on the head. I'm going to turn you into £1 million player. And I was like, well, I'm already 2 million. So why would you, why are you making me worse? No, so I was like, right. So, I was still desperate and hungry to wanting to be a Premier League footballer. There's no point denying it. I still want to be a Premier League footballer now.
Yeah.
44 and retired 8 years and can't walk.
As well, you've got FIFA in the house and George.
Can't even play that anymore. So I knocked it on the head. No joke, right? But I was weak as that water there.
Yeah.
Like I was eating, all the right stuff, right? But I don't know. I just didn't feel right. So anyway, fair enough. Give it a go. Played on the Saturday, scored, and then went out for a night. But so I didn't really go out with footballers all the time.
Yeah.
Right? I had my own mates. I mean, I'd rather just go and sit in the pub, to be honest, rather than, nightclubbing and all the rest. But anyway, there was a few new players, and we all kind of went out Saturday night. So he comes in Monday, and there he is to me, on the floor stretching. He comes over and he said, he just used to look at like weird, right? Not speaking, right?
He knows.
My head's fried here, right? So he says to me, went out Saturday. So I said, I did, Gaffy. I haven't been out in 6 weeks or ever. A few new players were going out and joined them. How much did you have to drink? So I was like, I don't know. Have a think. So I was thinking, right, so I had 6 in the players' lounge, right? That's what I'd left. So I went, well, I had 6. But thankfully, he didn't let me finish what I was going to say, right? 6 in the players' lounge before I left at 6:30. So I went, and he's 6? You must have been rolling about, drunk, right? And I was like, no, it wasn't too bad. And he's like, gee, I can't cope with this. And I was thinking, thank God I didn't tell you the rest of what I had. Because I went from there to my local and had another 6. Then I went out into town and I got
shots and everything. Pops off of it.
Oh, no. So I was thinking, he's like, you need to dedicate everything to being a footballer and stuff. So I was like, right, okay, well. What do you want, picking me?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm doing all that and you're not picking me type of thing. Anyway, I didn't make the squad and I just threw the head up and kind of went and said, look, what's going on? I want to be playing. He said, look, there's 3 or 4 clubs been in for you. If you want to speak to me, you can. So that was me away. That was on the Monday. I was signed for Macclesfield on the Wednesday.
Were you happy to go to Macclesfield?
No.
Were they same league?
No, league below.
Okay.
Because I just threw the head up.
Yeah. I just headstrong instead of you going, do you know what, I'll stay, I'm happy enough.
I'm
I'll get back in the team.
I've still 3 years or whatever left on my deal. No.
I'm not dealing with this.
Yeah, and just got there, and just thought, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Like, first day, mate, there was no socks or anything. Like, so about Oldham, right? I just used to turn up like this. Yeah. Well, obviously not these exact same clothes, but in your own clothes, and the kit was all laid out for you. Mm-hmm. And like the towel.
Yeah, just standard wise, it was
bump, right? So we got there, and Luke just chucked me stuff, and it was just like a jumper. Somebody else's jumper. It wasn't even brand new. I was like, and then there was no socks, and he went, oh no, players bring their own socks here. And I was like, oh no, what have I done? I was like near ringing Oldham. Can I come back? I ain't sorry for playing.
I'm so sorry.
That was just stupid of me type of thing. But look, I dug in and scored a few goals for the end of the season, and then went on and had a decent few years there. And I ended up obviously captain, and like I said, scored 51 in 3 years, and was the record, and probably will be the record goal scorer in the league because the way that it's gone now, they're all the way down. Hopefully they do get back there, but yeah, it was just
secretly you're like, I want to.
Yeah, like be good, but don't be that good.
I want to see you do well, but just sell your striker after a year.
Yeah, because it won't happen anymore, Johnny.
Yeah,
like nobody will do that again. If they get back to League 2 and somebody's scoring 50 whatever goals in 3 seasons, they'll not stay there.
No, they'll move 100%.
Because that's what happens, and that's when when I said it earlier, that's what frustrated me then, because I was like, surely I'm getting a move here, so the end of the contract was up, and I went in, and they offered me a good deal, and obviously I was on a good deal, and then I thought I'm going to have loads of people phoning me. I had a few, but nothing. Do you know what I mean?
Nothing that really screams out. They'd be like, oh, I need to jump at this.
I drove down. Yeovil wanted to sign me. Gary Johnson was the manager, right? And they were a decent club, and I liked the way they played and stuff, right? So I drove down, and then went, geez, Yeovil's far. So I got there, and Becky's auntie lives in Weston-super-Mare, right? So it was about 6 hours, right? Yeah. And this was 45 minutes away. So the next one I've got up to drive there. I went, nah. That is miles away, right? And phoned and went, nah, it's not for me. And I hadn't even gone, I didn't even go and, chat with them or anything. I just went, I don't want to be moving all the way here. Miles away from anything.
But see, whenever you think about it, back to the kid there, and you're going from Wales as a kid to Liverpool every Monday night, and then you're going from Macclesfield to Yeovil, or
but I was like, Yeovil, they're not even not even that good. Do you know what I mean? They were par with Macclesfield, but they were obviously offering good money. Yeah. And then
is that why though? Is that how they're trying to attract people? Are they a bigger player at that stage, and then you're saying going, well, that'll probably bring people into where the area is?
Possibly, yeah. And you need more, because then you need to buy a house, and obviously the house prices down south are way higher than in the north of England. So I don't know. And then I just went, nah. And then there was a few other tentative things. And so Blackpool came in for me, right, who were a championship club, or their League One club, but they were kind of going up, that way. But their wage structure was mad.
Okay.
And it was like half of what I was on. But like, I would have got more than what I was on, because it was like, another half and a bit more on top of, like, as appearance money and like win bonuses.
I like your bonuses. You score a goal, boom. Like
you need to play.
Incentivized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to play.
And you're just going, just drop that in there every Sunday night.
In my
money.
Like that, right? I'm not worried about
I don't want to score goals, even though you did.
Nah.
But you get your money.
But it's like, though, you going, right, that there's that.
At least you know you're getting it.
Yeah, and that there's that, right? So you're not miles and miles.
The thing you got to worry about there too is if you go to them and you sign and the manager and you fall out or hit the bust just straight away, don't get on with each other. You're cooked. You're getting half the money. You're never going to kick a ball.
And then where do you go from there?
And then
because then when you go to next, like kind of from there to there, right? So like say if that happens and you move there and you're going, aye, but then they'll say what you on, and I'll say, because they know what you're on.
Yeah.
Just all the contracts are there, right? And then you and I, but then you're getting offered that money. Look, you make the decisions in life, don't you? So I went round and spoke to a few different clubs and then ended up deciding no, I'd stay at Macclesfield, and thought, right, do you know what? We've had 2 years kind of fighting relegation, or not fighting relegation, but you're at the wrong end of the table, right? I'll only sign a 1-year deal. Right, thinking, be all right, because I'm going to score loads. And we got to the playoffs that year, right? And but I'd only signed a 1-year deal. And then I needed the hernia, and I was kind of in and out. I broke my foot and stuff. Still, like, ended up scoring a good few. Like, so we got the playoffs, and I was captain then. And the manager offered me a new deal. And I said, well, sorry, like, I'm not going anywhere else. I'm happy. Now, at this stage, I'd settled, and I was happy. And then he pulled it. When we got beaten in the playoffs, pulled the deal.
No way.
So we got beat on the Saturday in the playoff semi-final against Lincoln. I was like, dude, and all my mates were in Magaluf on a stag, and so I was looking to get a flight over there, couldn't get it, so I rang Dave and flew over here to come and see him. Dave Muscali, obviously, if anybody doesn't know. I said, come on. So me, the wife, and George got on the plane, and we came over a couple of days with Dave on the drink. Obviously, the season was over or whatever, and we were planning on our summer holidays. We were going to Cuba. Anyway, so we got back on the Wednesday. Liverpool played in the Champions League, the Istanbul one.
Yeah.
To watch that, went in the next day, and he just said, yeah, there's no contract. I went, oh, I'm coming in to sign it. He said, yeah, no, changed my mind. And right, okay. So that's when I kind of needed an agent, Ryan, and got myself moving. Then again, there was a few clubs came in, Mansfield, Bury, Darlington, and I had a couple of clubs abroad, and I was, like I said, I was in Cuba, and I was getting faxes sent to me there, and so I was like this close to going to Australia, so I thought, right, I'm going to go there. Got back, flights were all sorted, and then I couldn't get hold of the guy that had arranged it. All this agent just stopped taking my calls that day. So I flacked a bit. Like I said, I went off and spoke to a few, like loads of clubs to be fair, and I had some decent offers on the table, and agreed to sign with Bury. Graham Barrow, good manager, good guy, liked him, quite close, 10 minutes away from where I lived, 15 maybe, and thought, right, I'll go there, brilliant, like that. Not more money, but it was the same as what was on, so that was fine. Anyway, I phoned Carlton Palmer, who was the Mansfield manager at the time, to tell him, look, made my decision, I'm going to sign for Bury. Why are you signing for them? I said, look, it's local, they're offering the same money, same league. Yeah. This is the start of the slope down, right? Because I was still thinking I should have been going to the Championship here after all these good years, you know what I mean? But it was only really League Two teams that were after me, and you're making the wrong decision. I went, well, look, I've given Graham a word, I'm going to go and sign. Let me get back to you. So he rang me back and offered me more money, right? So I kept saying, look, it's not about the money. Right, I'm happy. I want to sign for Graham. I think the way they play will suit me better than the way that you play type of thing, right? No. Anyway, he kept offering more and more money, right? Where in the end, it was double of what I'd agreed with Bury, right? So I was like, what do we do here? So I said to Becky, but I don't want to go there, right? But this is the amount of money he's offering me.
Yeah.
Like,
money does change things, doesn't it?
It does.
That situation you're saying going.
So, and I'd been trying to ring Graham. So I'd said to Graham, yeah, I agreed to sign. Rang him, and I'll come down tomorrow lunchtime. Now I'm away playing golf for a couple of days, right? So I couldn't ring. No,
yeah.
We're talking here 2005, like mobiles now, the people are glued to them. They didn't used to be, right? So I'd agreed all this extra money, and I just said, let me ring Graham, speak to him, and he was like, oh, I said, look, Graham, they've offered me. I'm not going to ask you to give me that. You told me that's the best offer you can give me, and I believe you.
Yeah.
But they've offered me like near double. I can't turn that down. He went, well, you can. I went, well, I could, yeah, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Like, it's stupid. I don't want to do this. But anyway, so off I went and signed for Mansfield, which was successful. I played 4 games for them.
You still got your money at the end of the week,
Didn't I? So I went there and told them to stick it where the sun doesn't shine after the 4 games.
Right.
And got in the car and drove home and had to phone Graham Barrow back and ask him, is there any way you still want to sign me? They'd lost 3 out of the first 4. It just didn't work. I was driving to Mansfield, right? When you're looking distance in mileage, about 45 mile. It was taking me 2 hours.
Okay.
And then I got there and we just fell out. The first day we fell out. He was like, tell me to do extra running and stuff. And I was like, nope. I've only had 3 weeks off here because of the playoffs. Goes right up to the end of May. I went on holiday and I was back and I was straight in training. He went, these boys been in 3 weeks, you need to catch up and all. He was making me do 800 metre runs in 2.5 minutes and get a minute rest.
No way.
Mate, see it around the running track, And then I was punctured. And like I said, I already knew I needed a hernia op.
Yeah.
From Macclesfield, but I'd bluffed the way through the medical. So,
struggling.
And we had loads of arguments, and I mean full, grip, fisticuff arguments, not just
face to face.
Yeah,
matches.
I mean, blaming me for goals that we conceded and stuff.
Right.
And getting it on the video, and I went, stick it on the video. Well, this was the olden days, we had to watch the full video,
rewind
fast forward, oh no, we've come too far, I know all the way back. And bringing me in on a Sunday where the deal was that I didn't need to train Mondays. I could stay and train local, do a recovery session at home rather than travelling through the traffic and stuff on a Monday. And then I would stay over on a Thursday night. Just loads of stuff happened. There was just so many arguments all the time. Because we played Peterborough away, right, where it all what tipped me over the edge. And so we'd had this blazing argument on the Tuesday night. And I was like, honestly, if you speak to me like that again, I will actually bat you. And he's like, go on then. So anyway, that was on Tuesday. And on the Saturday, we were away at Peterborough. So I said, what time's the bus going on Friday? Or whatever. And they were like, oh no, we're just getting it Saturday morning. I was like, Jesus, I'm going to have to leave my house at 6 to get here for 8.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was. And it wasn't that far for them, but it was far for me. So I said, Gaffer, is it all right if I meet you at the ground? I'm going to go down the night and stay in a hotel. I'll pay you. Do you know what I mean? And he was like, whatever. So I got there and he was like, oh, look, big time's here. Not good enough to travel with the boys and stuff. And I was like, well, it's not that. You know the distance I'd have had to drive.
Yeah.
2 hours to get to the ground and then another 2 hours here.
Yeah, so, nobody wants any of their players doing a 4-hour trip before.
So I said, why would you want that? I said, why are you getting on like that? Anyway, half-time came again. We were having another blazing argument about a set piece, right? He had me picking up a 6'7" guy. I'd never been back for set pieces in my life. I mean, he didn't score. Another lad scored. So I was like, what? Effing man. So he said, right, whatever, get back out then. He was playing me wide right of a 3, which again, I'd never played there before, right? I didn't have a notion what I was doing. I did, but I didn't want to do it, right? Yeah. So for that, to be honest,
50-50. And
I wasn't, I didn't want to do it.
You didn't want to do it for him, but you knew.
I knew I could have done it, because, you know what I mean? But I didn't want to, so half-time comes, right? And I was on the right wing. No, that one, you're stupid, you just kick it out. Yeah. Right? And they just kicked it and went straight over my head, right? So throw in, so I'm running back to get on the winger's toes, as you have to when you're playing wide right. And the board's up, number 10. I was number 10 at this stage, yeah. And I was like, right, nice one. 3 seconds, and then he could have just subbed me at half time and I wouldn't have had to go out, but seeing you have to go back out, mate, and then you're over there, right? The dugout here. There's clapping, and everybody hates it, I'm just walking off the whole
doggers.
Yeah, so that was it, mate, and I just wrapped it, and I went and phoned Graham. Would he take me back? Yeah, obviously then I had to take a little bit of a pay cut. Yeah. But my wages were due, Mansfield just withheld them. They said that, no, they just withheld them, and I just went, nice one, yeah.
You're more than happy to leave though downstairs, so you're like, get me out.
I said, so basically I paid, about 15 grand, yeah. I paid my own transfer fee.
Yeah. Mental. But, so at least you had it, but.
Well, I just didn't take my wages that month, but yeah, I was like, oh no. Yeah, so I went to Bury. And I scored a wonder goal my first game. One of the best I've ever scored. And I think they thought, oh, this guy's going to be claps. I didn't score for another 6 months. No, I was out injured for 3. But Graham got the sack about 5 games later. And Chris Casper came in. And I needed this hernia up, right? And they were training on the pitch was this deep in mud. And we had to run every Monday. And I was like, nah, I'm not.
Just to let everybody know here, you've been struggling probably for the last 4 or 5 years at this stage where your groins, your hernia.
Aye. Probably since it started at 16, really.
Yeah.
But it just, progressively got worse. And I was captain Macclesfield. I could not train on a Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I was the main man there, so it was sweet. But I've gone to a new club, and you're like, oh no,
Yeah.
I'm going to have to train. I couldn't. And Chris was his first job as a manager, and he'd come in from the youth, and he wanted energy and stuff, right? Now I wasn't like an old man, but my body was like an old man.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work, really. And anyway, I was just mad. He won't pick him in stuff. And I had the hernia. I came back, scored a couple, and then I was in and out the team. And this game, we were playing Stockport away, right? I remember it clear as day. She said, 20 minutes in, go and warm up. You send the phone, you get in touch. Like, we were warm scared, right? So I'm thinking, happy days, I'm getting on here. So I've warmed up. And he's like, so sit back down. He said, are you ready? And I went, yeah. And he goes, just have a couple more. So I'm thinking, right, so I'm coming on at half time, mate, running like mad, right, at half. Didn't get on. Mate, I warmed up for an hour. Like, running up and down, right? No, like, you're like right in front of him, stretching and that, going, right, Gaffer, no late. Like on the bench, right? Obviously, but I was fuming inside, do you know what I mean? So I've gone in, at the thing, so I'm taking the boots off, and he goes, what are you doing? I said, what do you mean, what am I doing? The game's over. And he's like, yeah, you need to go and do some running. I said, how about no? Obviously, there might have been something else in there. I said, you've just had me running for over an hour there, warming up. I said, I've done more running than any of them players. I'm down that touchline. So I said, do you know what it is? Wrap it. I said, I'm taking a week off. I went and seen the sun. I said, look, my head's gone. We're going to fall out badly here. Like, yeah. And he was like, no, don't be like that. So took a week off, 2 weeks off, whatever, and went back in. And we were desperate. We needed to win, you know what I mean? We were struggling. And we were away at Darlington. And he got me back in the squad. You'll have seen this goal, right? You might not know who it was or what the game is, right? So Chris Brass was playing for us, right? And the cross has come in from Darlington, and he's went to clear it. So he's like facing our goal there, and he's went to like hook it over his head, and it's hit him in the face and went in. So this was like right at the beginning of the YouTube days. He like was the first million hits. Right, okay. Right, so boom, smashed him up. No, broke his nose and scored an own goal, right? Yeah. And I was warming up, but honestly, right, I was in creases. Like, you shouldn't be laughing. Like, we need to win. We're relegated if we don't win this game, right? There's 3 games left, right? But 2 games left, and I'm going, Brassett just broke his own nose here and scored an own goal, right? Oh, we're also 1-0 down. I mean, when we go 2 down, now pressure's on, right? So he throws me on. I win a free kick, and we scored. Oh, it must have been 2-1 when I went on. I've won a free kick. Brian Barry Murphy, he stuck in the top corner 2-2. And then I scored the winner, like 93rd minute. Corner came in, keeper. What are you doing, goalie? Yeah. Don't be leaving me free. This far from the goal, like that was my range. And then volleyed it in, shirt off and all, as if I'd scored a 40-yarder. Generally, like out with the fans, like
you're the hero, though, aren't you?
Aye, but the 3rd goal of the season or something, right? But it was the most important, and look, we'll get you fit over the summer and new deal, right? Brilliant. So I went and I absolutely knocked my pan in, over the pre-season, thinking, right, that's it. I feel like I can do something here. As much as I maybe didn't agree with Chris's methods, right, I did believe in them, if that makes sense. Because I knew he was going to be the right man. But I thought, right, I need to buy into his rather than him buying into me.
100%.
I might need to change the way I'm playing. Yeah. Because he said to me...
Or at least be open-minded.
Yeah, about it. Yeah. And like, this was the start of when I started coaching and stuff, right? So when I was like... Because he kept saying to me, like, you're brilliant, but only when it suits you. Yeah. He said, I want 2 rapid wingers, right? And he said, but you're like taking it in, holding centre half, rolling it back so you can get in the box. And he said, yeah, I know, but like...
That's my game, yeah.
So then I was thinking, right, well, I might have to be a bit more dynamic or whatever. So I went and knocked my pan in, got really fit, done well in pre-season and stuff. And on the Friday, we were playing the first league game. On the Saturday, I snapped my groin, my other groin. I should have had, obviously, the hernias had been back. No groin problems, but we haven't done any shooting all pre-season. The first time I went, groin goes. And that was me out. And then as soon as I got fit, just look, you can go. But then I went back to Macclesfield on loan then.
You went to Macclesfield 3 times.
3 times, yeah.
Yeah.
So that year was good. Brian Orton brought me back. So the time that I'd fallen out with Mansfield, Brian was the manager, right? And then he said, would I come back when I'd fallen out with him? But I thought it was too soon to go back. But the year after I went back, then he lost his job. Paul Ince came in and was brilliant with me, to be honest. I really liked him. But I was at that stage, then I'd had enough of football. I was 26 and had enough. I just didn't see myself being on the merry-go-round for 1-year deals going forward to the next 10 years, right, or however many years. So I played a few and scored a few for him and done rightly, but the end of the season came, he was leaving, he went to MK Dons and said, look, be in touch and whatever, and then Ian Brightwell was taking over, and I just didn't like ring them back or anything. I just said, I'm wrapping it. I just didn't know what I was going to do.
26, you're ready to give it.
Right, yeah, and I just went, and mate had a paint and decorating firm, and he said, do you want to work, bought a shop, worked behind the counter in his shop for a week. I think, well, I know for a fact he paid me more than the amount of paint that I sold.
Right, okay.
And I also sold the most paint to Becky. She came in just at the board and decided we would redecorate our house. And I, so did that, and then I helped my mate, had a carpet fitting firm, and I used to go and just, I wasn't helping him.
Stand there.
I was just company for him. Read the A to Z, and I was useless at reading the A to Z as well. I hadn't a clue where I was going, couldn't read it. And then I went playing non-league then for Hyde, and absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Body could suit training better.
So was this the first time you went part-time?
Yeah. It was Tuesday and Thursday, but like in the conference and all, you're playing Saturday, Tuesday every week.
Yeah.
So you're not really training. Because you're playing a Tuesday and then the manager would just say Saturday, and I was like, do you know what? I don't mind this.
Is that what can get you the lead? Well, you go to Hyde, and then there's Droylsden.
Droylsden, yeah.
You end up going back to
Macclesfield,
be the third time. But whenever you're in that conference setup, you kind of getting used to that, or are you going, I'll do this for a while, but I want to go back full time, or is it the groins? You're like,
I didn't know what I wanted. Yeah, my body was near knackered already, right? So I'd had a lot of football from a young age, even though I wanted more. Yes, quite a lot at 16, 17, playing like 18, whatever. So when I went there, I could pretty much do what I wanted, right? And I could go for a beer on a Saturday or Sunday and still score all the time, and I was happy. I scored 27 for Hyde there.
Okay.
I was flying, it was really good, and we had a good team. And I just enjoyed it. But then I still thought, right, that was how I wanted to play football.
Yes.
So that was what kind of led me on, towards the end of my career. I was like, well, just pass it to me near the goal and I'll score. Like, nobody could tell me anymore, but I was their best player, or potentially the best player, right? And the manager just said, we just want you, we just need somebody to score.
Right.
I was like,
that suits you. I'll just stay around here.
We're getting to the reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was, but then the year after, they went into money troubles, as happens quite a lot in non-league, because they basically throw tons of money at people for a year or two.
I hope to get up type thing.
Or not, and then go, all right, now we've no money, so sold me to Droylsden. But that was just madness. Like, we had a real good FA Cup run and stuff, and I scored a few, but I didn't really score many there. Like, considering I was scoring like every game, I had scored a few for them, but like, I just found it weird. The whole setup was weird. The manager was mad. Like, he was the chairman and owner and manager. And it was cash, right? So, like...
That's about the only positive about it all.
Yeah, but it wasn't, because then you were like, well, you've dropped me, but I still want my wages at the end of the game. And then he'd be like, if you think you deserve your wages, wait.
Of course you're waiting. There's a queue of everybody.
But some boys were like, and I was like, yo, it's my job.
100%.
Like, I want my dough, like. Yeah. But it was proper mad, and you couldn't, like, well, what'd you do?
So Macclesfield finishes you, and then you go...
Yeah, because I went there. So what happened is that summer then I was doing my B licence, and I went, and like, boys were like...
What age is this, sorry?
28.
So you've started quite early, and the idea
and
of coaching...
set up a coaching business and stuff with a couple of friends.
Okay. Going
around primary schools and things. That was like... so over here, that would be called B Part 1. It just used to be called Level 2 there.
Okay.
And then your B was your Level 3. Mm-hmm. A is Level 4. Right. So, yeah, I went, and there was boys on it, because it's all through the PFA, so everybody on it's a footballer. And like, I was like still good. Yeah. Like, where have you been for the last 2 years? And I was like, I went playing non-league. Like, you should be playing. And then they were like, their managers were ringing me, saying, look, Phil, that you're sharp, you're fit. And then I said, everything's gone now because I'm not training. Yeah. I'm just playing the Saturday. So all them niggles that I was carrying over the years. And I went and did pre-season with Accrington. And while I was there, Macclesfield phoned me and just said, but I'd come back. And then, like, Accrington hadn't said, oh, there's a deal or there isn't a deal.
Oh, you were still, like, in limbo at that stage.
Well, Macclesfield went, bang, there's a deal there. Come down tonight, tomorrow, whatever. And we had a game. I went and played. I think, we might have played Middlesbrough. It was somebody decent anyway. I wasn't bothered, like, I went and I was like, Jesus, I scored. And they offered me a deal and I took it. And I wasn't on much money at all, but I wasn't really that bothered. Then I want to see, can I still do this?
Yeah.
And I went back and I scored a few in the first few games. And I remember, like, clear as a day, I'd phoned Dave on a Saturday night. I was driving back to see my mum and dad or whatever. And I said, Dave, honestly, football's a lot easier now. And he said, I'm just going to do what I want to do. And if I don't get a game then, I haven't been getting a game anyway.
Yeah.
And I said, but I think the standards dropped massively in the last, like I've only been out of it 2 years. Either I've got loads better in 2 years, which clearly you haven't.
Yeah.
I think the standard had dropped a bit. And so did a year, and Keith Alexander died, which killed us really, in about the February time. He was on starting talking about coaching.
Yeah.
I was doing like some striker stuff, and he passed away. And then Gary Simpson was his assistant but best mate, and it broke him. And me and Sean Hesse looked after the team for a little while. And that was then, that was me thinking, right now,
you're thinking, as soon as you start doing those licenses, your brain starts to change, and it's no longer stuff that you're like, I'm thinking about this more tactically, more fitting where I should be and what you do, and it does change your outlook on football, and then it also changes your perspective on why managers are doing certain things.
Well, I still come and I was like, why are you used to? I used to think that when I was 20. I was like, why are you an idiot? Why are you doing this, right? And I used to like question them and stuff. But it got to that, and then the end of the year came, and it was like, oh, we can maybe offer you a deal, but it might be a pay cut and stuff. I was like, come on, like,
yeah.
So it didn't. When I did pre-season with Bradford under Peter Taylor. So there's a name. So you manage England, right? So I went for a drink with Ian Holloway. I was friends with Matt Williams, who's the CEO at Burnley now. I played cricket with him, and we went and did this like tour thing around all the cricket grounds for charity, right? And we bumped into, we planned to meet Ian Holloway at Blackpool, obviously. And I said, look, I've got these clubs in, and I know he likes me, and he said, you know what? And it's something I took into my managerial career. He said to me, they'll never say no if you phone them. He said, because if you send an email or get an agent to ring, they can probably fob them off. And he said, but I always find it difficult to say no to a player if he
calls you.
Come straight out there and just says, he said, do you know what? He said, you might say, just come in for one day. And I went and did like a month of pre-season with him, and I was loving it.
Yeah.
Anyway, he just got me in. He said, look, whatever way circumstances change, we've no finances for a deal. But Ian Foster at Dundalk.
Yeah.
I've been doing my pro license with him, and he was asking about you. Why don't you give him a ring or whatever? So I said, well, pass my number on to him. And he rang me in. And then in that same stage, Ian Holloway then phoned and said, look, there's a deal here for you. But they just got promoted to Premier League. He said, you're not going to play in Premier League centre forward. He said, but do a bit of coaching with the youths. But just be a reserve team player as an experienced reserve player, just to help us. He said, because we can't afford to risk anybody that's on the bench on a Saturday playing a reserve game, right?
Yeah.
I was like, do you know what? That sounds like a decent thing.
It's a very popular thing now. So
now it is
way ahead of its time.
This is like 15 years ago.
Yeah, it's insane.
Look, I thought, I know, but I still want to play in Dundalk, to be fair. Ian phoned me and said, sign to the end of the season, which is 3 months. And I went, if you give me 6 months pay, I'll come. Because I'm going to be in limbo from November to January. I can't do anything, 2 months kind of thing. Like, I'm not moving over there for 3 months. So anyway, we done that deal, and I came over. And then at that stage, obviously, I was travelling up and down to watch Dave playing for Portadown and staying in Cumberland. And I just said to the wife, look, if I get offered a deal either with Dundalk and a new Portadown, want to sign me at the stage, I think we give it a bash and we move over here. I said, we know Dave and we know people and we like it. We like the kind of area and stuff. And James was only a baby then, 15 months. He was 9 months when I came, but he was 15 when we eventually moved. And so I just went. I went to Dundalk, did okay there. And then thought, you know what, it's a fresh start, isn't it? You know what I mean? I come there, obviously Portadown offered me the deal, and that's when I really started. The coach had set my own schools. I was going in primary schools and stuff then. Started doing with Portadown youths and suppose
playing and coaching.
Playing, yeah, and I was happy.
Yeah. Well, this is where you probably really settle into life where it's part-time.
Yeah.
You get a bit more freedom to do your own thing. And there's certainly no pressure.
It wasn't
as much pressure.
No, in there. And I just found everybody was happier.
Yeah, freedom different. And
yeah.
Like to be fair, even at the leagues in England, I'm sure I've never been there to experience that, but I'm sure regardless of what league you're in, the pressure's obviously ultimately massive.
Every day, Johnny.
And I know the pressure's big now in the Irish League, don't get me wrong, but England's a different kettle of fish.
Every day was so bad, right? So there was a lad that played with us. So going back, right, 10 years at Macclesfield, whatever. So guy came and he'd scored like 60 in the conference, right? Or Conference North. So obviously he's good, right?
Ability, yeah.
And he was a postman. And he came and he couldn't score. Like even in training. Like how can you not score? When we did like 8v8 or whatever, right? 11v11s in training and stuff. And then I sat chatting with him one day, and he just said to me, Tippy, it's so hard. Every day here is harder than any match I've ever played at that level. He said, I can't do it. He said, I want to just go back to being a poster. He said, I used to run around there like all day and then go to train at night and like be buzzing. He said, I'm knackered getting up every morning here. Yeah. And he said, the pressure is like so intense.
You bring it home with you too when you're full time, don't you? It's you're constantly thinking about it, and then you're planning next day. You can't just relax.
And if we jump forward to being a manager, that's what happens. See, when you're a player, right, you might take it home every day, as in you have to live your life. You know, make sure you're drinking water.
More of a dedication to
food.
Yeah,
you can't. Like I never used to leave the house Thursday, Friday, like go to shopping or anything like that. You know, and it is you basically your whole life's dedicated to just trying to be your best on a Saturday. And I know I said like, you know, take a beer or the odd Chinese and stuff, and that would be like a fallback just in case. But it is, and then see when you're a manager, it is just like that for 365 days of the year, and it is mentally draining. See anybody that does it, like Davey and Ronnie McFall, obviously who managed me both, Portadown and Linfield, how they did it for so long, and Davey certainly with the job he had outside of it, right? Like. So I know touching it with before we went there. So I never had a real job outside of football, even though, you know, businesses and I coached and stuff. And then 3 years ago, I asked, Becky works as the shoe manager of Asda, so I asked her to get me a job there, driving a van, right? Because just seeing this fella doing it on our street, and I thought that must be easy. Kind of, you know, I was like laughing about it. Deliveries, yeah. So I couldn't get a job in the store ever, so I got a job in another store, and I absolutely loved it, doing 2 days a week. And it like gave me freedom, do you know what I mean? And people couldn't understand in the shop how come I liked it so much. I'd be coming in, you're dead happy, and I was like, you don't understand, right? That like this isn't stress. I just left Portadown at this stage, and it honestly was just to get me out of the house. And I took the Ards job on, and I just used to go in, and I'd be like, you know, like this, because Macclesfield was the food, right? And like people would be like, oh, are you not worried about? Well, what can I be worried about? Yeah. I take all the food out here, right? I give all the customers the groceries, get back in the van and come back. As long as I don't crash the van and as long as all the customers have the grocery job done, innit? Pretty much, right? And they were like, I get so stressed and if there's traffic. No, I was like, I said, seriously, if there's traffic, it just means I'm getting to listen to my podcast a little bit longer, you know, in the van, right? I'd like, had no worries. I have no worries. I'm full-time now. I do 5 days a week, right? And I still like love it. Honestly, it's weird considering I did from 14, I know I'm 44 and 45 at the end of the month, or at the end of the month. Gee, 3 weeks, right? I don't know. I'm so old. But so getting to 41 without like having to get up every day to go to work. But now, like I need that. Like
your routine set again where you're like, I enjoy getting up and doing this. It's, you know, a big pressure.
Mental health's a big thing now, isn't it? And I know you do brilliant work with it, right? And I don't want to blow too much smoke up you, but you are, you know, it's fantastic what you do, and certainly because through football as well. Yeah. You know, which is brilliant. My brother, sidetracked, he's set up something, right? So he's his is called Men Tribe. If anybody wants to drop them a follow, and he does it's mountain climbing walks and stuff, and it's obviously it's brilliant what he's doing as well. And I have full admiration. Like, and I would say I've never struggled with mental health problems, right? Like I've had worries and I've had
you've had issues, you've had stresses, and
you get me. But I would never say that there was any stage in my life that I thought, geez, I'm under mental health. But there was a stage certainly when I was managing at Portadown at the end where mental health, or just me being mental, right? People don't take that the wrong way. I just took too much on, and I was like exploding, and I didn't know how to control it, and I wasn't controlling it in the right manner. Certainly, I was probably drinking a little bit too much, and it wasn't like even a nice drinking. Do you know what I mean? I was maybe just opening a beer to watch the game, you know, that night, and it was just carrying on through. And like I say, like I don't think I was suffering from mental health problems. I just think the burden of being a manager was just went.
Yeah, you're like, I need this escape more than anything.
And I didn't know what to do, do you know what I mean? And I had nothing else away from it. So maybe if I'd have took a job on that, I could forget about the football or do something else. Like, see me going swimming. I used to do like a mile swim every day and stuff, right? Like, I would do a mile and not know, because all I was thinking about was what player I'm going to sign, what player I'm going to release, what we're doing, right? And that was like just mad. And as a manager, right, you live and die by your signings, Johnny. Yeah, right? That it's fact. I hated signing players. I absolutely hated it. Do you know what I liked doing? I liked, like, if you're there, right, you're my player now, aren't you? Like, you're coming through the youth, or you might have been the previous man. I'm going to make Johnny McMurray better. Yeah, I liked that. Right, what I didn't like doing was signing a player. I just didn't like. I hated it. I hate the transfer windows. I like working with people I could see were getting better.
Yeah.
I didn't like, it's weird things. I didn't like working with people I didn't know. You start from scratch all the time. And I was like, So when I went to Warrenpoint, obviously it was the year just after you'd left, if you remember, because it was the whole saga. Can you remember?
Yeah, well,
that was summer.
The last game of the season.
And then it was obviously with Gary had been on the bench in the dugout, hadn't he, with Carrick, so they were trying to fight the points, right? So I'd retired, as I said, at Ballymena at that stage, and then about a month later, the phone goes and it was Barry Gray. I didn't know Barry, I'd never met him in my life. Oh, well, probably have met him because we played against him, right? And he, Matthew, you all right? Yep. What are you up to? And I said, nothing, genuinely nothing, like no work, no. I just retired from playing, and so he said, do you mind meeting me? I want to run a couple of things by. I said, yes. So we drove up to Cumbria, actually, Le Mans Hotel, and we went and sat. We must have been there for 2 hours just chatting football. And he said, look, I want you to come in as my assistant manager. So I said, right, playing assistant or just assistant? No, just assistant. And I went, brilliant. And that was me. So I'd only had 4 weeks off, really, and I hadn't, you know what I mean? And then, because of the whole situation, I don't know, have even been 4 weeks. Whatever day the season had finished.
Yeah, because he went through the whole rigmarole of lawyers. There was...
Can you remember it all going on?
Yeah.
He went on
he was
like some months, didn't he?
Yeah, he brought to court, tribunals and all, and it actually went to court 2 or 3 times. There was going to be a thing where...
Called arbitration.
The season wasn't going to start and all, and it was mental. Yeah.
So,
but in fairness, though, it's one of the weirdest decisions I've ever been a part of. I've never seen a more clear cut. Like, it's no planet is it a penalty. And he's like... And I'm like, why have you seen that?
Probably, right, so that was that, right? But I remember, you can't though, and I said this, probably didn't endear me to too many people in Warrenpoint. You didn't get relegated for that one decision. There's 38 games to make sure you get enough points, right? No. It's probably not the best thing to say when you're the manager of the club, right? Because I wanted to take away that negativity of everybody still harping on about what had happened then. Look, it's gone now. We can't do anything about it. That, like, I'll be honest, that was one of my good things I always thought as a manager, right? As much, like, I got sent off loads of times, but, like, I'd be like, we can't change the referee's decision. We've got to carry on. But I'd get frustrated with my own players, and then, like, fourth officials get involved, and then they'd get told to stick it up when it's under 10. And then I'd be still sent off, even though, like, I wasn't even having to go at refs. Like, twice I got sent off, not even me having to go at ref. I told Dave to sit down and shut up once, and I got sent off for it because whoever the ref was came over to tell him. And I was like, I'll tell my staff what to do. And then he booked me, and I went, oh, is that right? You know what you can do with that. And then obviously that was me sent off. So, when the crowd goes nuts. So I jumped straight in with Barry as assistant, and it was pre-season, and we'd only played a couple of league games, and I got a phone call. It was Carrick, may as well say it, because I know Davey ended up taking it, right? But they'd offered it to me, and I went to Barry and said, listen, I've been offered the job. I haven't applied for it, but they want me to go meet them tomorrow, and he said, I'm going to step down as manager of Warrenpoint. Do you want to take it? I was like, well, yeah, because I know the players. So this is what I'm going back to, right? So I knew the players, because I worked in now as a coach, assistant manager, and there was a nucleus of a good squad there. Like, if you think there was some belter players, right? The ones that were obviously there from you. So Johnny Parr was in goal, Mona. Then we brought in, the Jordan Dane was there, Damien McVeigh, Aaron Traynor came in, who was brilliant. Fiend daft, like.
Yeah, mad, yeah.
Yeah, like, brilliant. And then Liam Bagnall was there, who was honestly unbelievable. One of the most underrated players, I think, in the Irish League.
He was like working. He was like 2 men.
Yeah, that's what he was.
When I always look back at that time, people talk to you about the Warrenpoint days, and you're sitting going from December when we signed, it was like having an extra man. Yeah. We brought maybe 2 or 3 people, and I think me and Marty Murray signed. Yeah. They were 15 points relegated, and they ended up like second, like 11th going into that last game, and he was a machine. I've never seen anybody like it.
John McGuigan, fittest man.
John was
rapid.
John was there, yeah.
Then, like, obviously, then I'd start knowing players. So young Liam McKenna had come in, who I knew, I'd coached him at the County Antrim, set up on the year before when we'd won the Super Cup, when Andy was the manager. Conor McMenamin. Yeah. So I knew Conor was a young kid at Linfield when I was playing around. He was brilliant. Like, I used to say to Davey, like, no point putting me on the bench. I can't come off the bench anymore. Like, I'm old and, like, knackered, knees and whatever. Right? But he's brilliant. I'd seen him playing the reserves and he was class. I thought I loved him. But he was just... kind of career went here
everywhere. I was you know
what I mean? He was like messing about and fell out at Linfield and then went to the Glens and fallen, and then he wasn't doing anything, and I tortured Barry to get him signed. But Connors was probably, he reminded me a lot of me. You know what I mean? When I was younger, like tons of ability and stuff, and knew his own worth. Yeah, and he was like, not
confident.
I'm not signing for that, you know. And he was a kid, like 20, 21. So we brought him in. Stephen Murray was flying.
Yeah, as he scored goals too.
But Stephen couldn't do pre-season or anything, so it was real weird, you know.
They were away doing the
fairs,
festival or something, wasn't it? Yeah, I remember that.
So we never did that, and it was like weird. But you know, with the Beasts set up a good team, and I was like, yeah, do you know what? And then Larkin Ford was coming through like the youths, and I'd watched him playing in the Super Cup that year, and I was like, yeah, we need to get him involved. It's like say Barry stepped down, and I took over as manager, but I hadn't had to do any of the running about, the worrying about the signing or anything.
Yeah.
So my head was clear, right? I was like, yeah, this is what we didn't train. This time we're going to play, and we ripped up the league. So I took over, whatever it was, right? And I never lost a game until, like, it was 6 months anyway. And the game that we lost, if we had 1 point, we'd have won the league, and there was 9 league games left. Mate, I was sweating, right? Things panicking. We were 18 points clear, and I was thinking, we're not going to do this. You know what I mean? And obviously we did it, and we ended up winning the league by like stupid amount of points. John scored 20 odd, Connor scored 20 odd.
So you got earlier that year,
27.
Yeah.
But then Trainer went to Coleraine, John went to the Glens, Bags went to Cliftonville. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you start losing. You do well, and you're sitting going, "We've done well. We can keep this." And then
to rebuild,
picked out.
And then like it was just like Johnny Power was like brilliant, right? And I loved him, but he was crazy. And then he'd say, "I'm going playing Gaelic tomorrow," and I'd be like, "Oh, I'm going to keep her." Yeah. So we signed Big Blaney, came in, St. Doozle, who'd obviously went through his problems at Cliftonville, and he was kind of not doing anything, but knew he was going to be good. And that then summer was took up. But I suppose I was a little bit luckier then. I'd only just finished playing Johnny, and I still had a lot more
connections.
Yeah, and I knew a lot. Because
would you have played the Doozle at Portadown at the time?
No, he came to replace me.
Okay.
When I left and went to the Blues, but you just knew. And then I was like, I know. I think I'll get something out of it. Look, everybody. How many managers have tried to get out of Doozle? Right, and we got and see from then. Obviously, we brought him in until Christmas. He was amazing. That's when we sold him to Crusaders. But then we sold Stevie to
Glenavon, yeah.
Who else did we? We ended up, you're losing boys, right? And then I was like, then the Portadown job came available. They approached me. Obviously, I was still Warrenpoint manager. And then I thought, with Portadown, I have the chance here to build something over years rather than every year. It felt like it was a year-on-year thing with Warrenpoint. And you kind of bring in people on the hope, right?
They stay.
Because look at the distance it is, right? It's not even that far. But in Northern Ireland, mate, everybody thinks it's the other end of the earth, don't they?
Well, it's a good, at that night time, you're probably doing an hour down, an hour back, aren't you? Or 40
minimum if you're Belfast. And you can't really look for anybody. Like, it's even North Belfast, right, to get across the town is a nightmare. So you're going anywhere past kind of North Belfast is a definite no-no. And even North Belfast, you're trying to lie to them to tell them it's only like 40 minutes. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You're trying to meet them in, like, Yorkgate. Through Costa, rather. I honestly had a Costa card, and it must have been hammered at Yorkgate, because I wouldn't be bringing boys down the road. I'm not going to drive them there. Where we Portadown, I would maybe meet them somewhere, but you bring to the stadium and different things. And I just thought it would be better. And at the beginning, went in, Niall had kind of built a half decent team, but I still thought, and there was boys that I knew, and I brought in. But the promise or the premise there that they want me to build from the youth up, which suited me.
Yeah.
It's going back to what I was saying about hated signed players. I wanted our players. So I could mould them coming through, 14, 15-year-olds, give the under-16s a pattern, how we want to play.
Is this all...
Bring them through?
In hindsight now, looking back, you going, they've told you this, spun a web?
No, because it did go like that for the first 3 years. So, I went there, it was the end of the season, went March to the end of the season, we done rightly. And then the year after, I kind of got sucked into it a wee bit, where I was thinking we might need a bit of experience, right? And I brought in Johnny Flynn, Kevin Braniff, Mackle came back. I took him to Warrenpoint, right? And they all did okay. Johnny then decided that was him done. He was knackered.
His knees were...
and which is fine. And it was a brave man to admit that, because I've been there, and it wasn't too long that I was in his position. Yeah. And he was like, I think I'll get another year. But he couldn't, and that was fine. But then I'd said, you know what, I'm going to go. It was about the Christmas time. Larne were running away with it. Like they just kicked off with them, and they were full time, and they just signed Davy McDade and boys, and it was obvious we weren't going to catch them. So I just went, you know what? Went back to the board and said, I'm going to go with the youth. What we'd said 6 months ago, I'm going to go with it. Kevin and Andy Kilmartin was still there, and Sean Martin, they were brilliant with the boys, but in my head, I was like, do you know what? We have a future with these younger ones.
Yeah.
And we'll go that way, and we did. At the end of the season, we got beat off Carrick in the playoffs, and then we really went with the young ones, like.
The following year ended up being the season where you...
COVID curtailed.
Yeah.
We were well ahead, like. But then we brought Lee Bonus. Watched him play on the park pitch.
Yeah. He was roofing at the time, or doesn't he?
He wasn't even at that stage.
No,
not. We got him the job with the roofing through David Jamison's,
right, okay.
just to help him out and stuff.
Just a raw, strong,
just
blooded kid.
Just wanted to do everything.
And he showed too.
Yeah.
Like he could do everything. He could fight people.
Everything that you thingied. Right. Here's a crazy story. Right. Do you know how he got in my team? You're not going to know because I haven't told you yet. So I'm going to tell you how Lee got in the team. This is because if you did know, it's pointless me reading on the show, right? So we'd start off the season okay, and they'd brought Aaron Duke in, good young lad, centre forward, and he a good goal scorer, but whatever. Still, when I go back to Chris Casper, how he wanted me to play, right? Dukey was doing what I wanted. I'll get all of it and stroll about the pitch, right? Good at it, but I wanted pace and dynamism in my team. Do you know what I mean? So Lee had booked a holiday prior to us signing him, so he'd missed the first kind of 10 days, whatever, the first 2 games, right? So he was only back off his holidays. But Brendan Glacken had just signed the young centre forward who'd been at Oldham, so I'd kind of tracked his progress, obviously, through my links there. And he came home and I signed him. He's sharp, goal scorer, left foot and good run, and liked him. He'd come off the bench a couple of times, unlucky, like the unluckiest finisher I'd seen. He'd come off the bench 3 times and hit the post and bar. 3 times, but here, we give him a run of games that he'll score.
Yeah.
Adam Sally was there, and we changed the shape up a bit. I played like a midfield diamond. Anyway, that's boring. So, in the Championship, I'd said, instead of 1:30 reports, it was 1:45 because the change rooms are tiny.
Yeah.
They're like genuinely the size of this room, aren't they? Some of the places. And we were knocked Breeder away. So 20-2 comes. So looking about, no, Brandy. So I said to Liam McKenna, who had brought from Warrenpoint with me, Brandy not come in with you today? Or is Brandy up there or something? Do you know? Because Liam was then. He said, oh no, he's driving himself today because he's going somewhere with his girlfriend after. No problems. Rang, phone off. Couldn't get in. So I came back in then, changed Comet. I went, I'm playing bonus, right? No, to the staff. Yeah. And they were like, well, I'm not sure. I went, I'm playing him. Right?
Can't do anything else, really, man.
Well, I could, because I had like Ryan Carmichael. I had players that I could. No, Carmichael and Lavery must have been injured. That's why we went with the Diamond. Could have gone with Dukey, whatever. When I went, I'm going to give Lee a go. What have we got to lose? Do you know what I mean? We've brought the kid in. Let's play him.
Yeah.
What's the worst that's going to happen? So Brendan came at like 10-2. So him being 5 minutes late got Lee a start, right? Because I have a rule. Basically, if you're late, just don't bother turning up.
Okay.
There's no fines or anything.
Yeah.
Just you're not playing that. I always think biggest punishment's not playing.
Yeah.
Cut your nose off to spite your face sometimes. You know what I mean? And loads of times it's cost me because I've had to not pick boys because they've been late and genuine reasons sometimes, but unlucky. So played Lee that day and we won 5-0. Sally scored a hat-trick, Lee scored 1, but Lee set 3 up and he was a menace, right? The week after he scored again and again. I couldn't leave him out. Yeah. And that was how Lee... I don't even know if Lee knows that.
Well, he does now.
There you go.
Hopefully he's watching. Lee.
In Holland.
Plus...
with his big money move.
Yeah. He's doing well too.
Brilliant, yeah. I speak to him still like more than regular. So yeah, that's like strange situation how he...
That's how football works.
Yes.
Like people get these opportunities out of thin air most times and you either take it or you don't take it and it either makes you or it doesn't make you. And...
Could you imagine, right? Brendan Glacken started the game. We win 5-0. He might have got a couple. I don't know, right? We don't know. Do we not? Nobody will ever know what will happen. Lee then might have not got a game for another month because he'd missed the first couple of weeks anyway, right? And then went, you know what? I'm just going to go back to the middle of the league to play.
Yeah.
Could have, couldn't he?
That's very how quickly it works.
That's like, honestly, that's how, like, as if we've all been there. Like, centre forward, you want to be playing, you need to be playing. Like, a amount of times I made the wrong decision, now I'm leaving or I'm going here, as we spoke about. And that was like Lee, bump, then off and running. And honestly, then we obviously won the league in COVID. See, that COVID year was brilliant for us when we were in the Premier League. Nobody could go to work.
Yeah.
Remember how crazy the world was, right?
Yeah.
So I was bringing the boys in full time and I was just working them constantly. No likes of Lee. Young lads that were hungry to play. Sam Glenfield was coming in. He was 14 or something. He obviously went to Fleetwood and he's Waterford now. And I was getting so much like buzz from coaching these young ones and improving them and stuff. But ultimately, to be a first team manager, you need a win every week. It don't matter how, like, I'm getting them better. I'm getting them moves across the board. I'm getting Lee, obviously a big move to Larne and stuff, right? But like, it wasn't really helping me.
The mad thing was, thinking back that, and people think about Lee signing for 100 grand, they were like, what are we doing?
People were saying,
£100,000, are you nuts?
I'll be honest, I rang other clubs and said, sign him and the league title's yours for 5 years. It won't take too many
within that period of time
to work out what clubs we're talking about or what particular.
And it just shows you, I think, because I'd be very close to Jeff and the boys in Larne. We do a lot of our work in Larne, but you can just tell that there's a difference about Larne, and he doesn't give Like, there's nobody there to replace. You can't replace what he
I said
gave
to
them
him
for 2 years.
You speak to other managers and stuff, right? And everybody, like, people think, why are you telling them stuff? Well, like, you need stuff, right? I want to make 10 player. And I said, see, Lee comes in, right? Everything that you do is brilliant. Link up play and all the rest of it. I said, but you haven't got that. I didn't think, even though I know you'd been there and stuff, right? I didn't think they had an out ball.
No.
I always felt we could sit in against them.
Yeah.
Right? And that was what was happening quite a bit. I said, see, when he's there, teams will sit in and he'll...
One of the things that I think that they did differently, which they never done 2 years I was there, is they never changed their shape.
Nope.
And he went in and they changed it to 2, and it worked.
And he'd put it to 1 all the time for me.
And we hated it. And the reason why I hated it, well, I didn't hate it. I enjoyed my time at Larne, don't get me wrong. But playing as a 1 killed me.
Yeah.
And I was crying out for me and McDade to play together because we were best mates.
And you've done brilliantly, obviously, with Cather as a 2.
I said, just give me what I need. Let me go and do it. Because then you were waiting most of the time. You're playing this and you were slow build up and they went wide. And for a year, I was like, I've run channels for 5 years and I've made a name out of it. And,
And now,
but he got to do it and
it worked.
Done it way better than I done it, let's be honest. And
he's done it better than anybody else. That's why he got his another move.
Fair play to him.
Playing all nine.
It's an incredible move and it really worked out, but there's a big difference now without him.
Mm. Yeah. Look, they're worries that I don't have to worry about because I'm not so involved. But this is then I'm having to think about that now, right? All right, we've sold him for 100 grand, and see the month leading up to that was like heartbreaking. I knew he wanted to go, right, and I didn't want to like that boy. Yeah. That I'm ruining his life here.
Yeah,
you know. And I was like, I'll get you your move, right? But then the board were like saying to me, and I wasn't picking him, no. Like, you know, in Irish Cup games, and I was saying, now Lee's sick. And then they were cracking up at me.
Yeah, because you knew you were...
But I wasn't stopping his...
Yeah, because you knew
move,
if he would play in the Cups.
And then it was kind of like... So the previous general, Ronnie Stinson, he was one that wanted to go to the youth, and then he passed away, unfortunately, during, like, just prior to that. And then Davey and they wanted... I don't know if they wanted to go in a different direction or not. We just lost, and then we had a bit of an argument, and that was it.
But at this stage, you've been there for quite a few years, 3 years, and then they offer you a 4, 5?
5-year deal, yeah.
Who in the Irish League gets a 5-year deal for it to be cut short after, 5 months?
6 months, 7 months, yeah. It was strange.
So strange.
Yeah. And look, it happened. But that was the stage, that's when I'm telling you that I was like struggling at this stage, right? Because I just couldn't understand why nothing was working. Like, and it wasn't like I'd lost any enthusiasm, but my mind, but say now, right, that the training pitches where I was good.
Yeah.
Right. I needed to be there, but I was doing everything else. And maybe I'd lost sight of what I was good at. And then I was kind of maybe snappy at the players and stuff. And I wasn't spending enough time with them. I wasn't giving them the love that, like, I wanted to give them or they needed from me. Do you know what I mean? And how I would get them to set up and play. And then it was basically doing 10 jobs, but 10% of each of them.
Yeah.
Rather than doing one job brilliantly. Yeah. So I'd gone from being like, I was full-time all the time anyway, right? Because I didn't have another job. So I was full-time as manager, but everything was there. But then when I became full-time manager, I was doing like planning permission for the ground. Do you know that
stuff that you don't want to, like that's not your job role? Well,
no, it wasn't, but it was like I was taking that on, right? Maybe I should have just said, "Oh, hang on, that's not my job." But I was willing to do it. I was going meeting people about different things, kit suppliers, and like doing stuff. Really,
you're pretty much running the club at that stage as a full-time manager.
I don't think I was experienced enough as a manager to do that. Yeah, even though like I wanted to have an input into everything that was going on at the club, right? But I shouldn't have
had the pressures of it at the end of the day. Yeah, somebody should have been able to take that off you and go, "What's your opinion?"
Like you think back, when you think back, how did I get involved as a manager? Right, I built up a decent reputation as a young coach.
Yeah,
must have. Because why did Barry Gray ring me? Because he'd heard that I was doing good things as a coach. Right, must be because you don't like football's weird, and it like that's the only reason word of mouth, whatever. And I went and did that, and I didn't get the Portadown job because I hadn't done well at Warrenpoint.
Yeah.
Like, we'd won the league, like at a canter, won the Mid-Ulster Cup, which was the first ever senior trophy they'd had. We'd produced players, we were getting players in.
Selling players.
Yeah. So we must have kind of done okay.
Yeah.
As much as, like, I look back at my career and I don't think I fulfilled my potential at all, as a player, right? And then even as a manager, I think I let myself down at the end, because I'd done well at one point, I'd done well at Portadown. I can look back, and it's not, like, facts speak for themselves. If you win a league, even if it's a championship, but you've still done quite well and kept them up the year after and stuff. Produced players, did okay. I went to Ards and it was completely the wrong time. Clearly, I was only out of work 2 weeks at Portadown, but that's bravado.
Yeah.
Full bravado, right? Going, nah,
I'm jumping back in.
I don't need a break.
Yeah.
Mate, I needed a break more than anything at that stage, you know. And I kind of played at it at Ards, and apologies, any Ards fans in the board and stuff. I didn't give them what I'd given the other two clubs previously.
Yeah.
Just because I didn't have it to give. Joe.
You're exhausted at this stage?
Yeah. And it wasn't, I'm not bothered.
Yeah.
Cos was bothered because, see, when I got there, I cared more than anything on the Saturday. I probably cared more at that stage, right? Because I knew I wasn't fully invested. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when we lost on the Saturday with that, it probably hurt me more than Portadown and Warrenpoint because I knew that I hadn't given my best leading up to it. So I always used to be able to go to bed on a Friday night, Saturday night, right, before and after a game as manager of Warrenpoint and Portadown, and I've left no stone unturned here. I have done everything. Video clips, showing the players everything, giving them every bit of info that, too much, sometimes, do you know what I mean? I didn't really get involved too heavy at Ards, and it was always an excuse, mate. I always had an excuse for it, do you know what I mean? I'm a big boy, like. I can admit I was wrong, and I can admit I was making excuses. She was no ground, so how can I get pre-match meetings with the players? You find a way.
Yeah.
Find a way.
Yeah. Pick a location.
When I was Warrenpoint manager, I would have found a way.
Yeah.
When I was Portadown manager, I would have found a way.
But does that come because you feel like well, let me rephrase that actually. How quickly after you take the job do you realise it's probably the wrong decision?
So when I took the job, I said to the chairman, I'll do it to the end of the season and we'll reassess.
Okay.
Let me see how I feel, you feel. And then we're not tied into anything, right? But I went there and I got them playing some good stuff quickly. And they hadn't won for 3 months.
Right.
Went to Lock all the way and beat them 2-1 the first game, right? And I was like, okay, I can do this, do you know what I mean? And then we had 3 or 4 5-0 wins on a run, right? So they came to me and said, listen,
stay. And at this stage, you're getting results, you're going, I'm in. Okay, let's do it. Yeah.
Yes.
And probably without doing it to the full capabilities that you were, you're probably like, this is a gift for me.
Yeah. I can do this, right? And like we were playing top football and stuff, and I was like, yeah, do you know what? And I agreed a 2-year deal. And it was probably, okay, that next season was all right, do you know what I mean? But not, and at the end of that season, I was like, I'm not sure. And see, then trying to sign players, and it was getting harder. Yeah. Obviously, more money coming into the Premier League, and people weren't willing to drop down. If they were willing to drop down, it was double what I wanted to be paying them. But rightly or wrongly, do you know what I mean?
You didn't have it probably to spend, so.
And I wasn't a manager that always was looking more money, because I'll go back to what I was saying. I wanted to improve players that I had. Yeah. And like hope that like I could get a 50 quid a week player, right? And go, here, do you know what? I'll make him to £100 a week player, or 100 into 200, you know? People would go, geez, you're not that good of a coach. I know I'm not that good of a coach. I've never said I am, but I like that thought of getting people better, you know, and getting young lads in and around me. But Ards didn't really, like, they've got a youth setup, but it's not a elite youth setup, if you like. So they've no players in any of the pathway programs, so I couldn't be bringing in 15, 16-year-olds what I'd done previously. Like, you need to be exceptional to get in at that age. But if you've got exceptional young players, throw them in. I wouldn't be frightened of that, but I didn't really have any to do that with. And I think around about the October and November, I went and sat the chairman down, and I just look, I'm not wrapping it, but I won't be staying on beyond
my contract.
Yeah. You know, I think you need to have a plan in place to go forward for the future of the club. It'll be the best of the club. And he said, yeah. And then he just came to me, you know, Christmas time, whatever, and just look, we'll probably just have to part ways here in the new year.
You were happy at that stage, were you?
Yeah, it wasn't like, I was like, right. Not like disappointed. I was more disappointed because it hadn't been a success, right? Not because I was thinking I was getting the sack. It was more a case of, I felt,
you've done yourself probably the service too.
Yeah, it was me I was upset for, right? And then people think that's a selfish way to look at it. But
your reputation is still everything. It's your reputation. Yeah, you're potentially going to go back into
managing. I'm a managerial job now, 100%. Right? Because of this. Yeah. Like I've decided, so when I stepped away at that stage, right, anyway, or whatever, we parted ways, shook hands and all that, said, I'll not take another job on for a year. Yeah. And let's see what life brings. Yeah. Right. I'll just drive the van if need be. 100%. I was happy enough. Do you know what I mean? I was picking up more shifts and it was kind of sweet, and I thought probably get offered something here or there. And then Andy Warworth told me about this opportunity to come and get involved in the new setup they were doing with the IFA. And I went in and did a week, and I was buzzing. Yeah. I had no voice for 2 days after because I was properly coaching again. Right, so when people think, what do you mean? How you be properly? Surely you were properly coaching, you were a manager, but there's a difference. because you have, he might be taking that bit of the warm-up, they might be taking the passing exercise or possession exercise. Really, as a manager, you may be coming in for the last bit, for the organisation of the shape and stuff, and then just watching the five-a-side game at the end, really, aren't you? Encouraging, and when you're coaching young kids, you get so much enjoyment from it and the pleasure of watching them improve and wanting to improve, right? And you're working with the best players in the country now, who are there because they want to be the best, right? And I thought, you know what, I like this.
Yeah.
So I did that for a little while. Didn't know where it was going to lead to, but that was 18 months ago. And, Touchwood and all the rest of it, I see that as a better pathway for me now.
Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm happier at home, right? I'm happy with people. I'm more open and honest to stuff. I probably wouldn't have said this 2 years ago or whatever as a manager, because you would have to be guarded, because I'd be worried, if I be honest and say that I don't want to sign players and I don't want to do this, or I don't like that type of thing, I'll not get another job. See, if it doesn't come to me, I'll not sweat it, because I've had a go at it, right? And I've tried, and
you've been successful.
A little bit, yeah.
And you've
I would have been like
promotions, and
look,
you can't take those things away from you.
No.
Do you know what I mean? And
well, I was with a fella on Saturday, right? And I don't want to say his name, but you know him, right? And I'll tell you off camera who it was. And he said to me, Tippy, we're here now, and there's hundreds of people, and all football people. We're at the All-Ireland finals day, right? So scouts and managers and whatever, everybody kind of there. And he said, do you know the difference is, all these people here, right? And you've actually done it. And I was telling him that I was coming here, right? And I said, I'll probably, for the first time on thing, admit that I didn't achieve what I wanted to achieve in football, right? And I do have loads of regrets. Do you know what I mean? I did stupid things, made wrong decisions, went to the wrong clubs, right? And all this carry on. Like I say, I've not really probably opened up about before, but because it's you and you're a nice guy, I thought I'll give you the exclusive, right? And he said to me, Tubby, don't do those down. He said, all these people out here, right? They're all looking at you, and you've done what they all wanted to do. 500 league games in England, however many games, 200 goals, Irish league and whatever, managed, won stuff. And I said, I know, but it's still not enough. But so then, obviously me saying, I know, but it wasn't enough, right? So I got in the car and whatever, I went home, went out. And I've thought about it, obviously it's 48 hours today. And I thought, do you know what? If I was 14, right, and somebody offered me the opportunity, to do what I've done, would I be happy if said you'll be 44 sitting in 30 years' time?
45 in the world.
Yeah, but if I was 14, I was still 30 years ago. Would you be happy with doing all of that? And I'd have probably said yes, right? But I wanted to play for Wales. I wanted to play for Liverpool. I wanted to play, Champions League and all the rest of it. All right, that didn't come, but really, it's not been bad.
Well, if you summarise your career compared to, as you say, most people's, let's be honest, most people are never going to get to
I should be happy. I should be happy, right? And I am happy in life, but there's always all the time there'll be them doubts in my mind going, if I'd just done that, or I hadn't had that injury, or I hadn't chose that move, or I hadn't been a dick, or whatever.
Yeah.
What
way would it have went? Yeah.
But do you know what?
If you did all that and go there, you're probably not going to be here. You're probably not going to be sitting on the best podcast in the country. You're probably not going to be doing all these different things. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, you're now in a job that you love.
Yeah.
You've only really went into it, but from your 28, you've realised that that's how you want to go in life.
Yeah.
You've now got to the stage where you're taking the best of kids that want to learn. You're able to give your opinion, show them what they should do, what they shouldn't do, and guide these kids. That's exactly what you've been talking about since you're 28.
Yeah, and do you know the thing is, right? So going on the pitch, right? I don't know if I'm a good coach or not, right? Probably.
You're in the position you are probably for doing it.
20,000 people that watch this, or 50,000 go, I've seen him, he's useless, right? Which is fine. And it's not for me to say I'm good or not, right? But I'm I must be doing okay. I'm a pro licensed coach and done, right? But sometimes, Johnny, right, it's not always about the best of technical advice that I can give, right? So when we were away in Spain there, the young kid, and he's brilliant, and I love him, and I love all the kids, do you know what I mean? But some of the little things that I've spoke to you about that, I kind of spoke to him about, saying, I was dead good at 14 and that, but did I always take the advice of the managers and the coaches on board? No, because I just thought I knew better.
Yeah.
Right? Which is fine, right? I'm not telling any kid they have to listen to me, but what I'm saying is don't look back in 30 years and go, Jesus, should have. When Neil Warnock was telling me to run the channels, I was like, nah. But when I said nah, I was sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
So then I went through a period of just running the channels, and then I stopped scoring goals.
Yeah.
You need to find the happy medium, right? But you need a manager that's going to tell you that. Ronnie McFall was best for me when I came. He just said, you're here to score goals, right? Let everybody else worry about everything else and get you in the middle of the goal post. I was like, yeah, that'll do for me.
Absolutely.
And that's why I scored a lot of goals. Big Davey was a little bit different. Like, it's the expectation. You played under Davey. Like, first and foremost, it's hard work, isn't it? Mm-hmm. But I was like, yeah, first and foremost is goals. Yeah. And everybody will forget that, haven't run around. But then see if you don't run around, certainly at Windsor Park, both Linfield, right? Jesus, that you'll be told about it.
The boys are right.
The boys are too happy. When obviously I finished off at Ballymena and I was scoring kind of most weeks. I've done okay, and I enjoy playing on the spike and stuff. But you've got to put all of them experiences together, haven't you? And I'm hoping that even if a little bit of that can rub off on the kids, like I think I'm enthusiastic. Yeah, you know, I'm certainly enthusiastic on the training pitch. I still want to like smack them in the top corner and that. Go in on a Wednesday and take the strikers at the JD Academy and. You know, I love doing the demos. Like,
100%.
Like, kicking the ball in the goal is no better feeling, right? No. The problem is, you have to run around on, like, somebody says to me, no, you could still play now. Well, I couldn't, could I? Because number one, I need a knee replacement, right? This knee is absolutely...
Walking football.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't even do that. I went and played a charity game not too long ago. I pulled my hamstring after 7 minutes trying to back heel it. What are you doing? Like, you know, just wrap it up. But give me the ball 12 yards or closer to the goal. And I'd say 9 times out of 10 it'll go in the back of the net. But the problem is, if I ever play, even the charity game, I can't get to 12 yards to goal, right? Because you'd be offside. I can't just wait there all game until the ball comes through.
You stand beside the goalpost, talking to the keeper, and
like you know, like American football would be all right if I could. We're talking about my goals. I should have found one.
Said nothing.
Yeah, that would be the crack. But still being able to demo that to the kids, still, you know, you're sticking the top corner, and you laugh and joke, and well, I do anyway, because I think that's the better way for my personality. I know I'm making it look easy there, boys, but it's not as easy as that for everybody, you know.
Kids thrive off that. The fact that you've been there and you've done it, I don't think
some of them even you played. Genuinely, right? And like, we were away, and then I said something, and then one of them said, "Did you used to play football?" And I was like raging, do you know what I mean? Like thinking, I'm like properly failing, like, you know what I mean?
Look at this old picture of you.
You all have YouTube, kids. No, but like these ones probably don't know, and I was finding that more like even as a manager, you know, like at the beginning I was maybe signing boys that knew me, and like so they had that respect, but then you're having to bring players in that you don't, you know,
just see you as a manager then.
Like, have we got a couple of minutes where I tell a funny story about players that know, right? So as Portadown, Warrenpoint manager Lorcan Ford had brought in. Okay. Right, at this stage, we were in the Premier League, right? So we'd won the championship. Championship, you don't really need to go too in-depth on the opposition teams, right? It's basic shape setup and where we're going to exploit. But in the Premier League, you know the crack, you have to give it the right. So I was like, listen, Jim Mulgrew, I'd gone around a few different players anyway, you know, like that, right? And I said, but Jim Mulgrew still makes them tick. So we're going back 8 years here, right? And we were still thinking he was coming to the end then, you know, I said, but he's still their main player.
Another year,
right? But he makes them tick. And he's, you know, we've got to really get on him. And I can say, so basically what I'd play 4-2-3-1, right? Left, right, middle. But I would have 3 number 10s. I'd want them swarming the deepest midfielder, right? Yeah. So if the ball went there, obviously that left winger went and pressed the right back, and then the 2 others screened the 2 6s, right? Lorcan, you need to be on him. I said, you'll get away from him because similar size and stuff. I said, he'll not expect you coming at him from the backside. Went on then. Roy Carroll, obviously, in goal, coming towards the end, but he still dominates him. He dictates it, but I still think we can maybe get things. You know, as you do, right? So we've gone out. Next thing I hear, you're all laughing. So, I'm back in. What's up? Lorcan doesn't know who Jamie Mulgrew is. And we asked, who position does Roy Carroll play? So I was like, you know, he was a kid, you know, 16, 17, whatever, and he went and signed for Linfield the year after anyway, right? But you're just thinking then, maybe football isn't everything to these young boys, you know, they're not dedicated to the whole, like...
The cause.
I don't know what you were like. You know, on a Friday night, I'd have been like going, and certainly in this day and age, the internet, and I'd send through, you know, the match report and different things, right? Some of them clearly didn't read it or whatever, but I would have wanted to know who I was playing against. Maybe I'd have been better if I was like Lorcan instead of worrying about that. And he just went on the pitch and dribbled past 6 anyway. Yeah. Didn't care.
But he had ability. Like, kid, he took off, didn't he? Like,
He's brilliant. He's come back to Warrenpoint, and I hope to see him doing well. Do you know what I mean? But players are funny. Like, I remember another quick one, right? So we're playing away. Doozle had gone AWOL, right, for us at this stage. Decided he was leaving. That was fine. So I've went in, and I've said, right, boys, as you probably know, Darren's not been here for 2 weeks, and he's decided to move on to pastures new. No problem. So chatted away, team, whatever, go out. And next thing, again, the laughter, right? I wonder what I said in the... Because you always worry what you've said in team talk. Because as a player, I used to wait for the manager or assistant manager to slip up on something, and mimic it. And you do, don't you? Right? That's I was like, oh no, what was said in there? So I've come in, and they went, Poggy, right? Poggy wants to know who's the manager of Pastures New. He wants to know who the manager of Pastures New is. I was like, oh God, what chance have I got here? Like, you're just thinking, oh, dearie me, yeah. But no, good times. But no, I think now, Johnny, I'm happy. I'm happy in life outside of football. Yeah. Because I'm out of that bubble of, constantly hammering it. I think coaching the kids and stuff, that, like, sounds weird, the kids give me pleasure and stuff, but they do, because I can see them improving, I can see them growing. And, like, I don't need my ego filled by results. Yeah. Like, see, if you're involved in kids football, you can't get sucked in too much on results. You need to... Well, I don't know. I'll find out if I get like development. Yeah, it should be, and we don't play enough games. Obviously, as they get a little bit older, it goes into international stuff, right? But at the minute, I'm not working at that level. I'm working in building them so that making them ready to be passed on to Michael McLean and Chris Lindsay. And I've been working with them guys, and I'm like learning off them now. Like, and I love that. Like, instead of me being like the top man or up here, right, and like the main coach and everything, like I'm like picking ideas off them and learning. I've been working with Chris Morgan, and brilliant. You know what I mean? Learning off different coaches at like levels that, where probably people are looking at me and thinking, the level I've been at, I should be the one like front and centre. I'm not bothered. Yeah. And like, that's not a lack of ambition. That's just the recognition of where I'm at and what suits me. I'm happy. Yeah. Look, and if people come to me and ask me for advice or ask me for coaching sessions or what did I do and why did I do it, like, I've no problem telling them that. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I don't feel like the need that I need to show off and people need to know what I'm doing. Yeah. Because there was a little bit of that when I went into management. It's still like wanting to be in the limelight a wee bit. Mm-hmm. Keeping yourself relevant, and it's all about me. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, that's why I got a podcast. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I should have thought of that, shouldn't I? Instead of putting myself through the stress of being a manager, I should have took the podcast on 7 years ago. My career's done, but I'm not going anywhere. But it is... I suppose there is that, because when you finish playing, like, you've jumped straight into this, but I didn't know anything else. Yeah. And obviously being a manager was, for me, the next step. Maybe I should have just went into the youth coaching, but I've learned so much. Yeah. And I've learned so much about myself as well. But it's going to help you going forward. Like, you kind of went forward to come back. Yeah. And then everything that you've experienced, you'll be able to relate to them kids and go, this is what I done as a player, this is what I done as a coach, and then this is what I've done as a manager. It's probably no better. Don't do any of it. Go that way. If I tell you to go that way, yeah, where's Chris Lindsay? Get him in. I get him to coach them and Michael, because they know what they're doing. I think I'm like, am I just here as the class clown, or I just make you all laugh and whatever? But like, we were in Spain. We were playing Spain. Yeah. In Spain, the best. Like, I'm telling the best pitches that I've ever seen in my life at any level of football. Shamrock Park. Yeah. There's photos of it, right? And I put it on my Instagram. People text me asking me, is it like 4G and stuff? Yeah. 3G. Fake. Mate, that's just like a carpet. Immaculate. The sprinklers on the training pitches. In like Spain, they've the hotel complex and stuff. And I was like, hey, the boys need to get in the pool there for a warm down. It's like 30 degrees, right? I wanted to get there and top up the tan, obviously. And I was like, I'll take them, no problems. Yeah. Wall pack. I was racing them up and down the slides, obviously. Right. And told them if anybody got told off with the lifeguard, that was it. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's no fun for the rest of the week type of thing, right? I was in charge of them for an hour. And I went down the thing before the lifeguard told me, and she was blowing the whistle at me. I got threw out. The kids were, I was like, oh no. I'm sitting at the side like that, reading my book with the sunglasses on, because the kids, I'd ruined the session for them. But it was a brilliant experience for them and a brilliant experience for me. Good. Happy. Keeps me happy. Good, mate. Well, you look happy. And I feel happy, yeah. You've made me happy for you coming on. Yeah. And it's been a pleasure, mate. I would keep going,
but I feel like we've ended it in such a positive.
There's
probably don't need to continue.
It'll be all bad and sad stories after that, you know, me being all depression.
And I'll get them Kleenex out. And
we won't need them now.
This is great. This is like 2 out of 2 that I haven't cried at. This is fantastic. See, that's the one that.
There's been one that's not come on the TV on the
right.
YouTube because you know, if Aaron watches this, fair play to him because I have no sympathy, right? So
fair enough. I mean, that's
a bad trait of mine, right? Because I've seen drugs cause so much damage to people, and I honestly don't have sympathy for people that get involved in it because it's your choice, right? But the fact that he's turned it round, I do, and I want to say to him, fair play to you. Do you know what I mean? Because. Like, I am like that. I hate anything to do with drugs and stuff. So, but like I'm allowed to.
Incredible story for someone.
Unbelievable. Fair play to him because he was obviously in a bad place. And
he was.
I understand that happens to people, but anyway, don't matter.
Still him, which is the good thing.
It's bonkers. He was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. And I've enjoyed all your series and you're doing rightly. I never thought it'd be in you, to be honest.
No, I've got the face for it now, to be honest, but...
Yeah, that's why I listen. No, I don't watch on YouTube. Just I can't be looking at somebody better looking than me, can I?
Oh God! Well, listen, mate. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
I look forward to spending a wee bit more time here. Hopefully, you've decided to take me to Spain with you a couple of times a year, and that'll be.
Well, where do I go? I'm going to Egypt next Wednesday.
I could top up a tan, but
Egypt next week. That's my next trip, and I have nothing else booked then. November and then March.
Good, and then your way. But listen, thank you. Hugs only, mate. So
hugs only is right. Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Brilliant, mate. Thank you
very much. Well done. Thank you.
And keep working hard.
We shall.
Yep.
Join us next week on the On the Spot Football Podcast. You'll just have to wait and see who this one is, but there'll be a few teasers throughout the week. See you soon.